Right now, in the middle of Illinois, sits one of the largest monuments ever built in North America. Thousands of people drive past it every year. Most have no idea what they're looking at. It isn't a mountain. It isn't a natural hill. And it wasn't built by Europeans. It was built nearly 1,000 years ago by a civilization that many people have never even heard of. Now imagine stepping into a plane. Not today. 900 years ago, you rise above the forests of North America. The Mississippi River twists across the landscape below, and then you see it. A city, not a village. Not a scattering of huts. A city, thousands of homes, massive public plazas, monuments rising above the floodplain, smoke drifting into the sky, people moving through crowded streets, trade flowing in from hundreds of miles away. At its peak, this city may have been larger than London, larger than any city that would exist in what is now the United States for centuries afterward, and yet, almost nobody remembers its name. Cahokia. Today only giant earthen mounds remain, silent, weathered, easy to overlook. But beneath those mounds lies one of the greatest forgotten stories in human history. Because Cahokia wasn't supposed to be possible. Its people had no written language, no metal tools, no wheeled vehicles, no beasts of burden. Yet somehow they built one of the largest urban centers in the medieval world. Then something happened. The city emptied. Its plazas fell silent. Its neighborhoods disappeared. And centuries later, even its story was nearly lost. No surviving books explain what happened. No king recorded the final days. No witness left behind an account. Only clues. Buried in the earth. Hidden in ancient bones. Preserved in lake sediments. Waiting for archaeologists to piece them together. So how did one of the largest cities in North America rise from the banks of the Mississippi River? How did it become the center of a vast civilization? And most importantly, how did a city this powerful disappear centuries before Europeans arrived? This is the story of Cahokia, America's forgotten civilization, and the mystery of how an entire city slipped into the shadows of history. For thousands of years, the place that would become Cahokia seemed unremarkable. A vast floodplain stretched along the Mississippi River. Forests covered the landscape. Rivers and streams cut through fertile soil. Small communities lived here, farmed here, hunted here, traded here. Nothing suggested this quiet region would one day become the largest city north of Mexico. Then something changed, and it changed fast. Archaeologists have spent decades trying to understand exactly what happened. Because around AD 1050, the evidence reveals an explosion of activity unlike anything previously seen in North America. New neighborhoods appeared, construction accelerated, monuments rose from the earth, and people began arriving from distant regions. The transformation was so dramatic that archaeologist Timothy Pocketat gave it a name, the Big Bang, not because it happened overnight, but because the scale of change was extraordinary. For centuries, villages had dotted the Mississippi Valley. Then within just a few generations, a true city emerged. The question is, what convinced thousands of people to leave familiar communities and move to a settlement that was still under construction? The answer remains one of North American archaeology's greatest mysteries. Researchers agree that several factors came together. The Mississippi River connected distant regions. The surrounding floodplain was exceptionally fertile, and maize agriculture was becoming increasingly productive. But those advantages had existed long before AD 1050. They cannot fully explain the sudden surge. Something else was happening. And the clues lay beneath the city itself. When archaeologists excavated early Cahokian neighborhoods, they discovered that many residents were newcomers, not just from nearby villages, but from distant regions. At the Woodhenge, study published in American Antiquity, analyzed chemical signatures preserved in human teeth. The results were striking. A significant number of people had spent their childhood somewhere else before arriving at Cahokia. This wasn't simply natural population growth. It was migration on a remarkable scale. Imagine standing near the settlement during those years. Every season brings new arrivals. Families carrying tools, farmers searching for opportunity, craftsmen, religious leaders, traders. The city grows almost faster than it can build. Everywhere you look, workers level the ground, expand neighborhoods, raise monuments, and reshape the landscape itself. Whatever was drawing people to Cahokia, it was powerful enough to transform an entire region. As the population grew, the city's center became one vast construction site. Basket after basket, day after day, year after year, workers moved unimaginable amounts of earth. What emerged would become one of the greatest engineering achievements in North American history. A monument so enormous that even today, it dominates the horizon, and it would become the ultimate symbol of Cahokia's power. Who was powerful enough to command an entire city to reshape the earth? Imagine arriving at Cahokia around AD 1100. After days of traveling through forest and river valleys, you finally see it. At first it looks like a natural hill, but something feels wrong. The sides are too straight, the shape is too perfect, and as you move closer, it keeps growing, until it towers above everything around it. This is Monk's Mound, the largest earthen monument ever built north of Mexico. Even after nearly 1,000 years, it still dominates the landscape. But you're looking at more than a mound. You're looking at power, because Monk's Mound should not exist, not on this scale, not with the technology available at the time. The people of Cahokia had no metal shovels, no horses, no oxen, no carts. Every basket of earth was carried by hand. Imagine lifting a basket of dirt, walking it to the construction site, dumping it, then repeating the process again and again. Researchers estimate more than 600,000 cubic meters of earth were moved. That's millions of individual loads. A scale of labor almost impossible to imagine. Yet somehow, it was accomplished. Which raises an obvious question. Who convinced an entire city to do it? The answer may have stood at the very top. Archaeologists discovered that Monk's Mound was built in multiple stages. Each generation expanded it. Higher, larger, more imposing. At its summit once stood a massive building. Though it has vanished, large post holes and architectural remains reveal an important structure overlooking the city. Many archaeologists believe this was the seat of Cahokia's highest leaders, where political and religious authority came together. From there, they would have overlooked thousands of homes, crowded plazas, and monuments spread across the floodplain. The message was unmistakable. Power lived here. But Monk's Mound wasn't the only clue. As archaeologists mapped Cahokia, they realized the city wasn't growing randomly. It was carefully planned. Major plazas were deliberately positioned. Monuments aligned with key spaces. Entire neighborhoods followed organized patterns. This wasn't a collection of villages growing together. It was a true urban center. Someone coordinated labor, directed construction, managed resources on an enormous scale. And the deeper archaeologists dug, the clearer that hierarchy became. Then came one of Cahokia's most remarkable discoveries, Mound 72. From the outside, it seemed ordinary. Compared with Monk's Mound, almost insignificant. But appearances were deceptive. During excavations in the 1960s and 1970s, archaeologist Melvin Fowler and his team uncovered hundreds of burials, elite graves, ceremonial offerings, evidence of human sacrifice. And at the center, one extraordinary burial, high-status individual laid upon more than 20,000 marine shell beads, arranged in the shape of a bird. For years, this figure became known as the Birdman. Later research challenged parts of that interpretation. But one conclusion remained. This was someone of immense importance. More than 250 individuals were ultimately documented in and around Mound 72. The discovery transformed how scholars viewed Cahokia. This was no ordinary farming community. It was a society with hierarchy, religious authority, and leaders capable of organizing extraordinary acts. But perhaps the most revealing question isn't who was buried there. It's why. Societies don't mobilize thousands of workers, build colossal monuments, or perform elaborate ceremonies, unless people believe in something greater than themselves. The leaders of Cahokia weren't simply governing a city. They appear to have held a sacred role, a role connected to forces beyond everyday life. And if that's true, then the real source of their power wasn't standing atop Monk's Mound. It was somewhere every person in Cahokia could see, every single day, above them, in the sky. In the early 1960s, archaeologist Warren Whittrey uncovered something unusual near Cahokia. A circle of deep post holes, then another, and another. At first they seemed ordinary, but as the pattern emerged, Whittrey realized he wasn't looking at the remains of a building. He had discovered something designed to interact with the sky. Today it's known as Woodhenge, and it may be one of Cahokia's greatest discoveries. Imagine standing inside a giant circle of wooden posts. Some rise more than 20 feet into the air. The horizon is still dark. Hundreds of people wait in silence. Then, the sun rises, exactly where it was expected. Not by chance, by design. When archaeologists reconstructed Woodhenge, they found that specific posts aligned with the sunrise on the summer and winter solstices, while others marked the spring and autumn equinoxes. The precision was remarkable. This wasn't decoration. It was astronomy. Observed, measured, and refined over generations. For farmers, tracking the seasons meant survival. But at Cahokia, that knowledge may have meant something even greater. Power. Imagine predicting the exact morning. The sun would rise at a sacred point on the horizon, then gathering thousands of people to witness it. Again and again. Astronomy became more than knowledge. It became authority. Archaeologist Timothy Pocketet argues that Cahokia was not just a city. It was a carefully designed sacred landscape, where politics, religion, and the cosmos were deeply connected. Major plazas aligned with cardinal directions. Ceremonial spaces were carefully positioned. The city itself appears to have reflected how its people understood the universe. We don't know exactly what happened during Cahokia's ceremonies. No written records survive, but archaeology offers clues. Huge plazas, monumental architecture, spaces capable of holding thousands of people. Picture the moment. The first light appears. The crowd watches the horizon. The sun rises exactly where it was expected. For those gathered, this wasn't just another sunrise. It was proof that the universe remained in balance, and those who understood that balance held extraordinary influence. That belief also appears in Cahokian art. Copper plates, stone carvings, marine shell engravings. Many feature birds of prey, falcons, eagles, symbols associated with the upper world and Mississippian beliefs. Among the most famous is the mysterious Birdman, an image linked to authority, warfare, and the connection between worlds. Even more remarkable, these symbols appear hundreds of miles beyond Cahokia. Its ideas were spreading. Its influence was spreading. Modern chemical analysis of human remains reveals that many residents were born far from Cahokia. People weren't simply visiting. They were leaving their homes and joining something larger. A city can attract trade. A city can attract wealth, but attracting belief is far more difficult. Yet Cahokia had done exactly that. For a time the system worked. The city expanded. The monuments grew. Its influence spread across much of eastern North America. Cahokia seemed unstoppable, but every system has a breaking point, and the same leaders who claimed to understand the order of the universe would soon face a force they couldn't control. Not an invading army, not a rival city, but the land itself. And when that happened, one question would determine Cahokia's future. What happens when a city built on belief is forced to confront uncertainty? What was it actually like to live in North America's greatest city? Imagine waking up in Cahokia around the year 1100. The sun hasn't risen yet. Mist hangs over the floodplain. Smoke drifts from dying hearth fires. A dog barks in the distance. Slowly, the city awakens. Not a village, a city, one of the largest anywhere in the world at the time. People head toward the fields. Craftsmen prepare their tools. Families cook the first meal of the day. Children run between houses. Everywhere, there is movement. For years, many imagined pre-Columbian North America as a land of scattered villages. Cahokia tells a very different story. Archaeologists have uncovered densely packed neighborhoods stretching across miles of floodplain. Thousands of wooden homes lined pathways, plazas, and public spaces. From above, Cahokia would have looked like a vast city alive with activity. The exact population remains debated, but many researchers estimate that Greater Cahokia supported 10,000 to 20,000 people at its peak. Some estimates are even higher. For comparison, London around the same period was not dramatically larger. That fact alone changes how we think about North American history. But numbers only tell part of the story. The real question is, what did daily life actually feel like? One answer comes from food. Archaeologists recovered maize, beans, squash, fish, deer, waterfowl, sunflower seeds, and wild plants, revealing a surprisingly varied diet. Excavations also uncovered evidence of enormous communal feasts. Huge quantities of animal bones, broken serving vessels, discarded food remains. These weren't simply meals. They reinforced alliances, displayed wealth, strengthened political and religious authority. And if there was one place built for gatherings, it was the Grand Plaza. Picture thousands of people standing together, traders arriving with goods, religious ceremonies unfolding before crowds, festivals, processions, public announcements. The plaza was the beating heart of the city. Beyond the plaza, another world was taking shape. For years, archaeologists assumed most residents spent their lives farming. Then discoveries challenged that idea. Evidence emerged of skilled artisans producing pottery, stone tools, shell ornaments, ceremonial objects, and even copper artifacts. One of the most important discoveries came from Mound 34, where archaeologists found evidence that prestigious objects were crafted inside the city itself. Not everyone farmed. Some became specialists, supported by the agricultural surplus flowing into Cahokia. The city was becoming increasingly complex, but complexity also brought inequality. Archaeology reveals clear differences in wealth, status, and access to power. Some individuals were buried with exotic materials. Others were not. Some lived close to the ceremonial center, others farther away. The gathering place that had drawn thousands of people was evolving into a highly organized society. And nowhere was that more visible than on Monk's Mound. From its summit, leaders overlooked thousands of homes, crowded plazas, and an entire city organized around a shared center. For generations, the system worked. The city expanded, trade flourished, religious authority remained strong. New people continued arriving. From the outside, Cahokia appeared unstoppable. But appearances can be deceptive, because beneath the festivals, beneath the prosperity, beneath the crowded neighborhoods, the city had become dependent on something fragile, a delicate balance between people, power, and the environment around them. Soon, that balance would begin to break. For nearly a century, Cahokia had opened itself to the world. People arrived from distant regions. Trade expanded. New neighborhoods appeared. Monuments grew larger. The city seemed unstoppable. Then around AD 1150, something changed. Instead of building outward, Cahokia began building walls. Not symbolic boundaries, not decorative fences, but massive defensive fortifications. Why? Today only traces remain, but archaeologists discovered evidence of a huge wooden palisade surrounding Cahokia's ceremonial center. It stretched for nearly 2 miles, with watchtowers placed at regular intervals and carefully controlled entrances. This was an enormous construction project. Researchers estimate it required tens of thousands of wooden posts. Thousands of trees had to be cut, transported, shaped, raised into place, then maintained. Archaeological evidence shows the wall wasn't built just once. It was rebuilt multiple times. The city kept investing in its defenses. But against what? When archaeologists searched for evidence of invasion, they found remarkably little. No destroyed city, no widespread burn layer, no clear signs of a conquering army. Yet the walls remained, silent evidence that someone believed protection had become necessary. The environment offered another clue. For generations, Cahokia consumed enormous amounts of timber for homes, fires, ceremonies, monuments, and now defensive walls. Studies of ancient pollen and environmental records show the surrounding forests were gradually shrinking. The city was placing increasing pressure on the landscape that sustained it. Then nature added another challenge. Evidence preserved in lake sediments suggests a major flood struck the Mississippi floodplain around the same time the palisade appeared. The timing is remarkable. Around AD 1150, the city builds walls. The region experiences significant flooding. One flood doesn't destroy a civilization, but it creates stress, especially in a city dependent on agriculture. Scientists also found evidence that the climate became increasingly unstable. Wet years, dry years, sudden shifts, the kind of uncertainty farmers fear most. Yet from the outside, Cahokia still looked powerful. The mounds dominated the skyline. Trade continued. Ceremonies continued. Life went on. But history is filled with societies that appeared strongest just before they declined. The warning signs were already there. A defensive wall where none had existed before, growing pressure on natural resources, an increasingly unpredictable climate, a city working harder to sustain the system that had once fueled its rise. No one living there knew these would become clues for future archaeologists. Because civilizations rarely collapse overnight. The cracks appear slowly. Year after year, decision after decision, until people begin making choices they never imagined. Leaving, relocating, starting again. And that is exactly what happened next. Not through conquest, but through a slow transformation that emptied one of North America's greatest cities. What does the end of a great city actually look like? Most people imagine the fall of a civilization as a single moment. A battle, a fire, a catastrophe. One terrible day that changes everything. But when archaeologists searched for the end of Cahokia, they found something far more unsettling. There was no final battle, no destroyed capital, no conquering army. Instead, they found silence, slowly spreading across the landscape. At first, almost nobody would have noticed. A family leaves, then another. A few houses stand empty. Markets still operate, ceremonies continue, children still play. The city is alive, but beneath the surface, something is changing. One of the biggest clues comes from the environment. For generations, Cahokia depended on the fertile Mississippi floodplain. Then nature became unpredictable. Sediment records from nearby Horseshoe Lake reveal major floods during Cahokia's history, including one around AD 1150, just as the city began showing signs of stress. Imagine fields underwater, stored food ruined, travel disrupted. One flood wouldn't destroy Cahokia, but recovery demands resources. And soon another problem followed. Drought. Climate records show increasingly unstable conditions. Floods, dry periods, then floods again. For a farming society, uncertainty can be devastating, and uncertainty affects more than crops. It weakens confidence in leaders, in traditions, in the future. Cahokia's rulers had long linked their authority to maintaining harmony between people and the natural world. But what happens when nature no longer follows familiar patterns? No written records survive, yet archaeology suggests the response. People began leaving, not because they vanished, not because they were conquered, because they chose another future. A 2019 study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences analyzed ancient biological markers preserved in lake sediments. The results confirmed what archaeologists had long suspected. Population growth, a peak, then a gradual decline. The city emptied over generations. Imagine a family deciding whether to stay. Harvests become less reliable, resources harder to find. Relatives have already moved elsewhere. Eventually, they leave. Then another family leaves, and another. Homes collapse without being rebuilt. Neighborhoods thin out. Construction slows. The city still exists, but it no longer feels the same. Perhaps the most haunting part is this. The people living through it may never have realized they were witnessing the end. History rarely announces itself. Life simply becomes harder. People adapt. Communities change. Then one day, looking back, everything is different. By around AD 1350, Cahokia was largely abandoned. The giant mounds remained, but the crowds were gone. The voices were gone. For nearly 3 centuries, Cahokia had been one of North America's greatest cities. Now only the wind moved through its plazas. Yet this was not the end of the people who built it. Modern archaeologists emphasize that Cahokia's residents did not disappear. Their descendants continued living across the region. What vanished was not a civilization. It was a city so remarkable that its disappearance should have been impossible to forget. But somehow, it was, and that may be the greatest mystery of all. Centuries later, people stood before its enormous mounds, without knowing who had built them. When the last residents left Cahokia around the 14th century, they didn't take the mounds with them. The monuments remained, towering above the floodplain, visible for miles, too large to ignore, and yet, the story behind them slowly disappeared. By the time French explorers entered the Mississippi Valley in the 17th century, Cahokia had already been abandoned for generations. The earthwork still dominated the landscape. Massive artificial hills, perfectly shaped, clearly built by human hands, but no written records explained who built them. No names, no rulers, no history, only questions. Into that mystery came speculation. By the 19th century, many Americans believed the mounds could not have been built by Native Americans. Instead, they imagined a lost civilization. Some blamed the Phoenicians. Others suggested ancient Europeans. Some even claimed the lost tribes of Israel. The theories grew stranger, but the evidence never appeared. The myth survived because many found it easier to invent a vanished race than recognize the achievements of indigenous societies. That changed in the 1880s. Smithsonian researcher Cyrus Thomas spent years excavating mound sites across the eastern United States. His conclusion was unavoidable. The builders were Native Americans, not foreign explorers, not a forgotten civilization. His 1894 report finally dismantled the mound builder myth and became one of the most important corrections in American archaeology. But many questions remained. How large had Cahokia really been? How sophisticated was it? The answers emerged slowly. Much of the ancient city lay hidden beneath farms, roads, and modern development. Some mounds disappeared before archaeologists could even study them. Yet every new excavation revealed a city far larger and more organized than anyone had imagined. Then technology transformed the search. Using LiDAR, researchers began scanning the landscape with millions of laser pulses. Ancient earthworks, neighborhoods, and settlement patterns almost invisible from the ground suddenly appeared. Nearly 1,000 years after Cahokia reached its peak, the city is still revealing new secrets. Think about that. For centuries, people walked past these monuments without knowing what they were. One of the greatest cities in North American history had been hiding in plain sight. Its ruins never vanished. Its memory did, and perhaps that's the most remarkable part of Cahokia's story. The greatest mystery was never who built the city. It was how the world managed to forget it. Nearly 1,000 years ago, if you stood on the summit of Monk's Mound and looked across the Mississippi floodplain, you would have seen one of the largest cities in the world. Thousands of homes stretching toward the horizon, crowded plazas filled with people, ceremonies beneath the open sky, trade routes connecting distant regions, a civilization confident in its future, a civilization that seemed permanent. And that's what makes Cahokia so haunting, because permanence was an illusion. The monuments survived, the people endured, but the city did not. There was no final battle, no dramatic last stand, no single catastrophe. The city faded, slowly, quietly, one generation at a time. The crowds disappeared. The plazas fell silent, and one of North America's greatest cities became a memory. Then something even stranger happened. The memory faded too. For centuries, the mounds remained exactly where they had always been. Visible, unmistakable. Yet the story behind them slipped away. Only in the last century have archaeologists begun piecing it back together. A burial, a layer of lake sediment, an ancient earthwork. Each discovery revealing another piece of a civilization hiding in plain sight. And even now, the story isn't finished. We still don't know what the people of Cahokia called their city. We don't know the names of the leaders who stood atop Monk's Mound. We don't know exactly what happened during ceremonies at Woodhenge. Some of the most important chapters remain unwritten, at least for now. But perhaps that's why Cahokia matters, because it forces us to rethink history. For generations, many believed complex cities did not exist in North America before European arrival. Cahokia proves otherwise. It was sophisticated, organized, connected, ambitious. A city capable of reshaping the landscape itself. And for a brief moment, it became the center of an entire world. Then it was forgotten. Not forever, just long enough to remind us how fragile memory can be, because history isn't only about what survives. It's also about what gets overlooked, what gets buried, and what waits to be rediscovered. So the next time you hear the phrase lost civilization, remember Cahokia. It was never truly lost. Its monuments never vanished. We simply stopped seeing them. And that leaves us with one final question. If a city larger than medieval London could stand in plain sight for centuries and still be forgotten, how many other chapters of human history are waiting to be uncovered? If you enjoyed this documentary, consider subscribing and join us as we uncover the forgotten places, hidden mysteries, and remarkable stories that continue to shape our world. Because sometimes, the greatest discoveries aren't hidden beneath the earth. They're hiding in plain sight.